All right, guys, I want to address the throwing program for you. We're trying really hard to keep your arms in shape, even though we're not actively playing games. And you guys are working hard. You got your workouts with the coaches on hitting and fielding and getting everything ready. I just want to do a little bit more of a deep dive into how to execute the throwing program efficiently and get as close to real game warm-up as we can get when we're getting our arms loose on our own. So assuming you've got a throwing partner with you, we want to start out with working really hard to just make sure our grip is correct at the very beginning. In a warm-up situation, you get to control the pace and you get to control your grip. So every time you receive the ball, work really hard just to remember to make sure you're getting your four-seam grip, okay? Getting across all the seams. It's going to help keep the ball from tailing or running on you or cutting on you, any of that stuff. Once we're ready to start throwing, I know a lot of you guys start with your feet planted, getting a shoulder turn, opening up at your first distance. Your first distance should be somewhere around the pitching distance, somewhere 40 or 50 feet. From that distance, it doesn't matter how you do it, if you want to do the feet flat or if you want to do a regular step and throw, but your goal here should be loosening up but looking at your target and being really focused on the glove of your partner and on one spot, so we're always trying to hit that spot. Some guys take 5 or so throws to get loosened up at this first distance. It took me like 15 to get loose. It just took me a long time. So you got to know your body. You're starting to discover that. You guys are getting older. You know how long it takes to get loose. So go at the pace that's responsible, but don't just rush and just so you can get done, right? Get yourselves all the way warmed up. So at every distance, we're gonna try to get as loose as we can at that distance and work back. So after you've gone to your 40 to 50 foot distance and you've gotten loose, you want to go back to basically the distance of the base pass. So 60 to 70 feet, somewhere in that range. Another 15 or so throws, depending on how long it takes you to get comfortable at that level. A reminder too, we should never be throwing 100% effort or top 90% effort until we've reached all the way back in our long toss and started working back in. Okay, so you get your throws in at that 60-ish foot distance, and once you do that, it's time to take 5 to 8 paces back. 5 to 8 big steps back on your distance. Once you get back here and you're closer to 90 feet, well, for most of the guys your age, it's going to be hard to throw 75% and still get it there on a line. So at this third distance, we want to put a little bit of air under the ball so that we can continue to lengthen out our arms and open up our shoulders to get loose. So what that means is the ball is going to have to be 10 or 12 feet off the ground at its peak. You're not throwing full speed, you're getting some air under the ball. A lot of you too at this distance should start to incorporate a shuffle. And it's not because your arm isn't strong enough, it's just that you do not want to put undue tax on your arm and put a bunch of extra strain just during the warm-ups, because frankly you're being a little bit lazy, right? So just a little bit of a shuffle from that third distance. Next distance back is another 5 to 10 paces back. Now we're back at 110, 120 feet. And at this point we're actually going to crow hop or do a full shuffle, get into our legs. We're also still only like at 75% in terms of our intensity or our effort on the throw. So at that point you also need to get the ball up in the air again, and here you might have to start changing your level. So with a shuffle, you might have to get your shoulder level changed to get a little bit more air under the ball. And at this point, at 120 feet, you probably want the ball to be 20 to 30 feet in the air at the peak, right? So you're creating that arc on your throws. Going back one more distance, this is the long toss. This is where we're really opening it up. 150, 200 feet. We're getting a good, powerful shuffle, really changing our levels and really reaching up and high and letting the ball go 40 or 50 feet up in the air at the apex. And your goal is to land the ball right on your partner's chest or right at the glove height, right? Once you get 5 or so throws at that long toss distance with a lot of arc, now we can move in 3 or 4 steps and it's time to start pulling down, and now we can ramp up the intensity of our throws. Getting back to shoulders level, getting out and really reaching hard. A good point to make too is for a lot of infielders, at this longer toss distance, we're so used to making our throws kind of at this height, okay? Well, for us to throw the ball 200 feet or 150 feet at this height is really hard to do without a bunch of tail on it. So from this distance, I want to see you guys working to get your arms up higher and working to get on top, throwing more like an outfielder or more like a pitcher that throws with a high arm angle. We've worked back in from our long toss by one step, basically, by one distance. And now we're really working hard. We're going to pull down and we're going to try to land the ball 15 feet in front of our partner. One long hop. We want to do this from the outfield when we're making throws from the outfield to try to throw guys out of the plate or throw guys out at third base. So we want to practice the idea of pulling down and getting on top and creating that long hop. You don't have to get it to them all the way in the air. Move in one more distance, and now we're taking a good strong crow hop and we're trying to fire through and throw through your partner straight through them to their chest. And then lastly, we'll be back to a pitching distance. And if you're a pitcher, I want you to do your full warm up or your full routine in terms of stretch or throwing from the wind up, and you throw 10 fastballs and 10 changeups, all with the point of how many times can you hit your partner in the chest out of the 20 throws. So that's a quick overview of the throwing program. You guys are going to have some questions on it the next time we do a team meeting, and I'm happy to answer them, but that's how we want to address the throwing program. Last point to make is if you don't have a throwing program partner and you're doing this like you guys did a nice job in the cages in the off season, and you're doing it into a net, just make sure that when you get to your first distance, when you're imagining having a partner play catch with you, that you're throwing it at head height and not just throwing the ball down into the base of the cage, because that's not creating good habits. Creating good habits is really visualizing you have a partner across from you even though you're working inside the cage. So that's it for the throwing program, and there'll be more to come.